Welcome to the Parts and Labor Podcast, the podcast that explores the strategies, systems, and stories that drive salon success. I'm Alicia, founder and CEO of SalonScale.
And I'm Whitney, head of sales here at SalonScale.
And welcome to the Parts and Labor Podcast.
Okay, welcome back to the Parts plus Labor Podcast. My name is Whitney.
And I'm Alicia.
And today, so a couple episodes ago, we really went on this kind of salon eras
All the eras. The eras tour.
About, the different salons methods kind of throughout the years. But we just had a birthday. I mean, you just had an actual birthday, but SalonScale had our 7th birthday. So I thought that it might be nice today to kind of go down memory lane again today and talk about some of the things that really kind of shifted or even shook us as a company and kind of made us pivot and go from there.
Well, you know what do they say? It's like, it's always about the journey, not necessarily the destination. I think sometimes over the last 7 years, I think, there's a lot of things that skyrocketed. We went really fast. And then there's a lot of things that we had to learn in the process. And 7 years, I don't even know how that happened, but I think, it feels like it was just yesterday, but it also feels like it was 70 years ago. It's been a lot. But I think the big thing, I really think that 7 years we're past that kind of milestone. If you look at startups, most startups fail within the first 3 to 5 years of startups. So that's a good thing. That's a good win for us.
We did it.
So we learned a lot along the way, but we couldn't have really gotten here without the backing of a lot of people in the industry. And that's truly where when we went to market, that's really how we went to market was, we got to find as many people to tell the story with us. Mm-hmm. And so when it came to finding different influencers, educators, anyone that had community, anyone that had reach, it was how do we work with others to be able to tell the message of what SalonScale can do and spread that out as fast as we could? Because a simple ad, how do you just put an ad out in an industry that didn't even, really at that time, salons weren't I need a calculator to cost the exact cost of my products that I'm using.
Right.
No one was really directly hitting the keys and looking for that. So it's how do you get that message out? And so, we really went with what was in front of us, which was influence of the social markets.
That and literally going salon to salon, boots on the ground, door to door, and trade shows, right? It looked a lot different back then for exactly the reason you said. You can't just put an ad out and people will click on it and know what you're talking about or think that they need it. And I do think a lot back to, I've been with SalonScale for 5 years, but I've known you since you created SalonScale, and I remember talking to you every day and hearing about it when you first created it. And I'd be like, how many teams do you have now? Or how many salons you did? 30. I'm like, what? You did it. You did it. You're 30. You're good. You could probably sell it. And
you won.
I think back now about those first 30 salons even, and I feel grateful, really grateful for them, because you're asking them to take a chance to make a change in their business. And they did it.
Yeah, I think those are those moments when you launch a product, this is the first global product I've ever launched, right? And so I don't think I was prepared for seeing, web traffic and seeing tens of thousands of people, on your sites, to having hundreds of people signing up for a product in a single month. Mm-hmm. I don't it's such a higher velocity and high volume, and it's such an empowering moment. And then you're okay, now all these people are knocking on our door. They want this, this product. It really made us start to recalibrate and be okay, how exactly do we need to help with onboarding, or how do we help educate bringing the full technology into the salons? And I think that was really our biggest, I would say that was the biggest hurdle when we mm-hmm. first started, because I think when we launched the product, we wanted to kind of see where the market was. And we wanted to see, if we gave you this tool and we gave you the number, what would you do with it? Mm-hmm. And I think that there was a lot of people that already had their own methods. There's a lot of people that had already had their own ways of thinking of what this tool could do. But it was very clear that the industry lacked direction on exactly what the benefit is of tracking your costs and then applying it to your pricing method.
Right.
I think that's really what kind of changed a lot of our process and our overall communications and how we talk to different customers. And I think, okay, so this is really important. So like when you start to make noise, like when you start to like stir up a market and you bring something innovative, something new, something, it's going to provoke, like it's going to make others try to poke holes in your theory, especially if you're starting to get a lot of notice, right? And I think that that's what we started to see. So as soon as we would have super highs, we'd also have, like, the trolls would come through and they would attack. And so it's hard to cut out that, because when you're a company that's like has such a heart and the whole, mission is really putting profit back in salons, and we really care about our customers, to have people directly attack those things, it kind of was like hard to stay firm on really, what we had kind of discovered.
Yeah. And I think there's one in particular.
Oh yeah.
Comment that really kind of shook you a bit. And from there, yeah, you're putting yourself out there. And when you do you're empathetic and you're really, this is coming from a place of caring. And so, if we just wanted to make money, didn't care, it could probably roll off our back, but when you're trying so hard, you're taking a risk, you're putting yourself out there because you care, to hear kind of those comments that just, they knock you down a bit, even though you have all of these people around you, saying, like, singing the praises of it, saying like, this saved my salon, this, especially once COVID hit, but you can disregard all of that. And if one person says something that kind of cuts you deep, it can take a while to overcome that.
Oh, I mean, I think it brought me right back to being a hairdresser all over again. It's like you have one customer that complains or is unhappy with something, then you're like, I'm shit. Like, and it's like everyone's unhappy. They're all going to leave. Like, I think like you just get it because you're so passionate about what you're doing every day. And I think that one comment, and for context on it, is this is when I started to really push forward the method behind our tool. So really talking about parts and labor, and helping salons understand how to transition to this, and like why it's so important to control those variable costs in your business. So as I kind of started to push more that forward, there was a salon educator that kind of just directly DM'd me and literally said that I'm making a mess of the industry. Like I'm ruining it. Mm-hmm. And so when I got that DM, I couldn't stop and be like try to let it roll off my back. Like that hurt. It hurt. Yeah. It really hurt. And it was hard because I think the intention always with SalonScale, the intent has always been there. The same exactly what we've always tried to do. We've been very, on that path. But when you're a passionate, driven leader, those hits, they rock you. They rock your confidence and they put you into what we call doubt. And so then that was really the time where I pulled back and I was like, whoa, I gotta, I don't want that to happen if that's the perspective of the industry. I want to see how it works with everyone. But sometimes you realize that those little moments are gifts. And so when that happened, although it rocked me, I realized in that moment that you can't be everything to everyone. And you can't fit into you can't be liked by everyone, So you're going to be liked and loved. It's you're going to be unliked and you're going to be, maybe despised. I think you're going to go through those journeys, but if you're doing something right, all those triggers will happen. It doesn't matter if it's on the positive tank or the negative tank, you're going to hit both levers when you're, entering these phases. And what I call this phase is the advocacy phase. So when you invent something and you create something that changes an industry and it creates a lot of, conversations around it, it forces you to be an advocate. And, I didn't wake up one day and be like, I want to be the advocate on the best pricing structure in a salon to make sure that salons are profitable forever. But hello, now I'm that person. Yeah. Right. And so I was forced to be the advocate. And I think that's no different than anyone that is advocating for any cause. They didn't, maybe they went through a life situation that they didn't, plan, and it happened to them. And now they're an advocate and now they have to use their voice. It's that's exactly what happened. And so I think I had to learn a lot in the last little bit about how we as a company become loud and proud of that, and continue to push forward and making sure that we stay true to how we, we've seen the success, and make some noise on that.
Yeah, what's that saying? I'm going to butcher it for sure, but that it's like if you make a product for everybody, you make a product for nobody. It's something like that, where it's
That's a
like,
good one.
thank you.
I think you did really well.
Yeah, thank you. That's wrong for sure, but that's a new quote by me.
Yeah. Whitney.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that that's exactly it. Like it's polarizing. People are gonna hear it and they're gonna love it, or people are gonna hear it and be like, absolutely not, never me. And that's okay. Like if you figured out the secret sauce, if you have a line out the door, you're making tons of money doing the way you do it, then keep doing what you're doing. But there's, you know, we talk to salon owners every day that are looking for help and like a solution. And this is our way of that. And we know it works, for those that want it. But if you don't want it to, that's okay too.
Yeah. I think like after 7 years of doing this, if I look back at some of our first month, first quarter, first year's messages, they're the exact same. They're exactly the same. You go look at the first pitch deck I've ever had, it's exactly the same. It's the same message every single time. We, as an industry, have never separated our parts from labor. And that is the problem. And we've never had any digital tools to track these costs. Now we have it. It's called SalonScale. And so like it's exact same message. This simple tool separates it. You now just add it on top. So whatever your labor costs are, you're going to just add it on top. Now all those variable costs are now handled. And we've seen salons now go from never making profit to making tons of profit in their business, doubling their profit margins, seeing anywhere from really $2,000 to $5,000 of increased revenue in their businesses monthly, and on track, on pace to doing like $50,000 to $100,000 of new revenue in their business annually. Like it's a cash magnet. Like it actually has worked. And what I noticed is after 7 years of kind of going through this and working with it, the number one thing I see with a salon owner is they're almost ahead of, maybe they might be sitting still in a little bit of denial. They might not be able to identify, and they're also just operating at a super fast speed. Like they have all these problems. So they're worrying so much about others instead of thinking about the business and themselves. And so what I find is that the ones that end up moving are the ones that are either in like crisis, like I need to make change, like it, like last, I now see this thing, or the ones that are a little bit more curious. So I think curiosity, and as an entrepreneur myself, like it's great to be the one that always comes up with a strategy or has the like thought logic to be like, here's how we're going to win and do this. Like, that's awesome. But the greatest leaders out there are the ones that they kind of sit back and they almost observe their business more, and they become very curious. And when you get into that zone, like you're in what we call is like a scale zone. Like that is where scaling is. So after dealing with, all these things with SalonScale, and having to go through this for 7 years, that's where I landed myself today. And as the CEO of SalonScale today, is like I've kind of moved from that founder to CEO. So like I now live and operate a little bit more in like CEO land. So now I have to kind of I like sit back, I observe things, I look things a quarter out, while the teams are focusing on day-to-days and month to months, and the teams are now strategizing on how we can kind of do that. And like that's ultimately like the best gift, and like that's kind of where things all progressed, was just like after learning and working, we wouldn't have gotten here without the industry supporting us, our teams working tirelessly to try and figure out the right messaging, the right approaches, and how to kind of deal with that, and then really me stepping back, like me being able to sit back and let it kind of handle the next phases. I think that like ultimately got us to where we are today.
Yeah, no kidding. And keeping yourself out of burnout.
Yeah.
That
Burnout, which will always, like, it's always the thing. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
Got to be careful. That will always keep up.
You teeter that line.
But I think there's what I learned, a new thing was there's a big difference between, there's two things: burnout and boredom. So like I think what will happen is like when you step into growth or you're in those next stages and you pull back as a leader in your business or even in your life, when you start saying no to things and you're like, okay, I'm going to prioritize my time, what happens is you're going to have a lot more space and time. So what you used to do, work on projects, do all those clients and run your business. Like if you're doing all those things and you stop taking clients, now you have a lot of free time, you're going to be in boredom.
Mm-hmm.
And the boredom can actually spike the burnout because it's, ultimately, it kind of makes you, well, what's my purpose now? What do I do now? And like you're kind of might feel like a little identity crisis in those moments. So I think it's important that like when you buy back your time, and when you kind of go through these kinds of phases, it's important to take that time to fill it with things that give you more knowledge. So if you are a salon owner and or a leader, if you are starting to say no and start to scale yourself out, and like this is the number one thing I learned the most is like when you buy your time, give yourself a break and then fill up every single time with like coaches, leaders, educators, anyone that's like a few steps ahead of you. And then that's what your day is like just getting as much knowledge so you can go and pass that back to the team that is like operating the business daily.
Mm-hmm. And I do like a few things that you said through there. I love that you said like your pitch deck is the same, but then we kind of got, like rocked a little bit by, well, one, COVID, and then two, just, that comment specifically wanted to kind of dim your light a little bit. But now we're in a position where we want to, again, like you said, get loud again, get loud because we have now 7 years of like, that this is working and every day more and more are doing it. And so I think I completely lost where I was going with that. Is actually what I was just going to say.
I hear you. I think the big thing, it talking about like I think the core message always has to stay the same. Like if you truly want to make a movement, you want to make a difference and an impact, like your core messaging should stay the same. If we look at any notable brands out there, whether it's Nike, whether it's, even Starbucks, like random, if you look at any major companies and their corporations, their core values stayed the same. Their missions stayed the same. There might be slight adjustments to the logos, maybe some color changes and like adding, to the team and expanding in those kinds of ways and maybe a little bit more rules and processes developed, but the heart of that business continues to scale, and that's what we have here at SalonScale. I think that the one thing is, like you said, is when COVID hit us, yeah, it rocked us. It made us push into overdrive because now every salon on the planet was at home. Every salon owner had time now to learn about back bar management, so we had to go into overdrive. So as we were still having our children at our houses, operating now in new worlds, not in offices, now off Zoom, taking on a lot of that volume. By the time the world started to kind of level out again, and we were trying to get our breath, we then entered, inflation, and we entered in all these like tariffs and like these like it's just a hit after hit after hit. And so I think the one thing is 7 years. It's just been those like entrepreneurial roller coasters. It's always been an up and down kind of process. But no matter what, I think it's like when you have a heart of a team that has a ton of belief, like that's what got us through it. Because when one or two need a break or need time, we work together and we help each other out. Like that's the way that we have made our way through a lot of this stuff.
I think that's a good point too. Like the team that has belief, and that's, we have belief in you and we have belief in the system and, the method and the product too. And I think that that's important as well because we've been behind you and every person on our team has been able to watch these salons come in and go from A to B, go to making that profit magnet that you talked about, by kind of switching their pricing structure. And that is really like why I am so grateful to those first, 30 first early adapters that it did change our pricing model because everybody that comes after that, it's easier. There's salons that I talked to that it sounded really scary a year ago. And then they come back the next year like, why didn't I just do this back then? But whatever, I'm starting today. And so the more that do that, the easier it's going to get for everybody because it's just a good thing. Again, like if it's not for you, it's not for you. But for those who are looking for an answer, like a way to really do this and to have like a long-term sustainable model, like it's a good answer.
It's a good answer. No, I think that's the thing is those early adopters and creating the movement through it is really, again, it created that momentum, but it created a lot of like really, really successful salon owners that like got real results that brought us up in rooms that maybe didn't want to hear about us. And then they started to rep for us and they, created a lot of, conversation. There was like in the last couple of years, there was very few, color courses or classes where people start to bring up pricing that someone in the room didn't say, well, why aren't you using SalonScale? Right? Like we've become a part of a lot of those conversations. And so, that's kind of like that evolution that kind of happened for us. And the successful part of that is our marketing spend is like substantially lower than most companies that would have to spend to acquire customers. And we build customers by a lot of it is word of mouth. Like when we look at our stats here, it's like 33% of the customers coming through are direct word of mouth. They're coming right to the site. And that's all through our highest channel, which is Instagram, right? There's so many people that post through Instagram, TikTok. These are high sources for us. That is such a gift. Like that's a hard thing to do as a software as service company. Most of the times you have to pay thousands of dollars to acquire customers or still knock on doors, right? But the fact that like we have an industry backing us and that they're continually to say we support them because, they connect with us and they connect that, we've been there. We've been there and we're there to help them. I think that's definitely been a fun fact. Something I'm proud of too. It's like, it's a fascinating fact to look at.
I agree. I can't tell you how many salons I've been on demos with. I've said like, I'm here because my friend who owns a salon made $50,000 with you guys last year. And that's just or, just like you said, I took this class and they mentioned SalonScale. We're not paying them to mention us. It's just, I find that such a compliment when it's just known as a good and valuable tool.
Yeah. Well, I think like after 7 years, when we look at it, we're now averaging, close to around like $20 million being put back into salons. So the stat is like, it's well over $100 million at this point since we started. $100 million of revenue put back into salons and the impact. And when I look at that, it's like, how many lives have been changed? Like, that's why we do this. Like, that's why it's all about this. I can't wait till it, becomes like, like industry wide, globally wide, and continues to do the impact that it's had so far.
Yeah, we have a work testimonial channel where anytime we hear like, one of our salon owners says, I made an extra $5,000 this month or whatever it may be, or like, this went so great. I can't believe like I didn't do this soon. Anything like that, any like little win or big win, we put in our testimonials channel on Slack. And I think that's all of our favorite channel to look at. It just makes us feel really good. Cause that is really what it's all about, is having that impact on salons.
It makes you, love what you do. It doesn't matter those that are, developing a product, they're coding to marketing to really sales success, like anyone on the team looking at that channel and seeing that impact, it makes you feel like you did something that created some good things, good change. And you can see that direct outcome from the work that you're doing. And I think, that's been the best. And we've got a lot coming up. Like, I think the team right now is just ready to really not only, crush the rest of this year, but there's a lot of fun things that are coming in the next couple of years here. So I definitely can't wait to see what...
Couple years, couple months.
Well, let's see. Let's see what happens here for the rest of this year. And we'll have to, see what a year from now looks like.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, again, this episode was all about 7 years. 7 years of, success and the highs, the lows. There's so much more in between. But I think, ending on that is like, we're grateful and we're appreciative of everyone that said yes to us and that has continued to support us. But then, those that also return, they come back, they want to try it again. We're meeting everyone where they're at. So with that, happy 7 years to SalonScale.
Cheers.
Cheers. And happy 7 years to the team behind SalonScale and to all of our customers. Again, thank you so much and can't wait to see what the next couple of years comes ahead.
Yep, absolutely. So thank you for watching and we will see you guys next time.